Okay, so apologies for absence. I believe we've only got Kathy. Everybody else is here. Those apologies have been emailed in. Thank you. A revision of the standing orders to facilitate virtual meetings. So as per standing order 24A, the local authorities, blah, 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 blah. Basically, you've all got that written down in the agenda. What we're doing is the same as the district council, and we've taken a view to suspend the public attendance in the meeting. Oh, sweetheart, no, darling, not now. Sorry. We're suspending the public participation in the meeting, and we have requested for any representations to be made in email or by letter or by telephone to the clerk, so the public can still participate. This meeting will be put onto the internet shortly after we have the meeting now. So we need to vote as to whether or not we agree with that. So I'm going to unmute you all. So I'm going to propose that we accept those changes to the standing order as written in the agenda. Would anybody like to second?
Seconded.
Second. So in agreement, we've got Alan, Anne, Marisa, Carol, Carolyn, Julie, Steve. Was that James waving?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dawn. Dave. Have I missed anybody? It's all of us, isn't it?
Yeah.
Super, thank you. We're just doing it like the district council do, that's all. Lovely, thank you. Okay, so moving on to any consideration of order of business. I propose that we put AOB, any other business, onto the end of the agenda because we missed that off by accident. Is that all right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Magic. Okay, so minutes from the previous meeting. So we've reviewed a correct record of the minutes of the town council meeting held on the 30th and the extraordinary meetings held on the 26th and the 9th. Right, first of all, Dawn. You got something to say? No. All right, I'm just going to put your hand down then. Steve, you got something to say?
I think you're unmuting.
No, everybody should be unmuted. Unmute all.
Steve, we can't hear you.
Steve, we can't hear you.
Steve, we can't hear you.
You are unmuted. I've unmuted you. I mean,
this is what happened to me last time.
No, I can't. I've unmuted you. I've done it.
Who's the host for this meeting?
Me.
Perhaps he's muted himself.
Well, maybe I don't know. Hi, Steve. I've unmuted you. I keep pressing unmute all. I've unmuted everybody.
Can we hear everybody else? Is everybody else here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't hear Dawn.
Can't hear Marisa either.
Marisa, we can't hear Marisa.
No.
Oh, hang on. Right, I'm going to mute everybody and I'm going to allow you all to unmute yourself. Right, now everybody unmute.
Yeah.
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 Okay. Good. Can you hear me now?
Can I hear you now, Steve?
Yeah, I presume so.
All right then.
Okay, we discussed it at the F&GP last night. I am opposed to some of the comments in the minutes. I disagree with the fact that April, May, June and July was mentioned as the payments for the Whitworth Centre. I'm aware that other people disagree with my fact. I would just like to register I'm not happy with them points in them minutes, although we did at last night's meeting, the F&GP, come up with a resolution regarding the Whitworth money. So.
Okay.
So, can I answer that one then? So, when I asked for contributions from other councillors who might have notes, several people did confirm those dates, Steve.
I understand that, Ian, but the point I made last night is, had the month of April been mentioned at the time, I would have objected, because we were on the 30th of April at 7 p.m. at night, which was the last day of April, so it would have made sense to be May, June, July and August. However, I'm beyond it. I just don't agree with the minutes as they stand.
Where does that leave us as far as clearing the minutes go then, Mary?
Then we take a vote on it as a council, and then we vote on it, and so we accept them. We vote to accept them or don't accept them, and then it's the majority. So, does anybody else want anything to say about those minutes?
Go on, put a hand up.
Go on.
Can you put my hand up to say that we're actually approving 3 lots of minutes? So are we doing them individually? And then you can put the point of Steve's on the relevant minutes, which was,
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So, I propose that we accept the minutes as written for the 30th of April meeting.
second it.
Dawn, second. Right, let me go through. We've got Alan, Anne, Carol, Marisa. Is that everybody for it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and Carolyn as well. Would anybody like to oppose it? Steve? Anybody else? Okay, and so Julie, James, Dave, are you abstaining?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't get them in time. I haven't read them even.
Okay.
Yeah. I genuinely can't remember.
Okay. Thank you. So that's that one. The extraordinary meeting held on the 26th of March. Can I propose that we accept those minutes as a true reflection of the meeting? And we'd like to second that. Alan, thank you. We've got Steve, Marisa, Dawn, Anne, Carol, Julie, Dave, James, Carolyn. Lovely. And then the meeting on the 9th of April.
I'll second that.
Thank you. So propose that they're accepted. Steve seconded. Then we've got Alan, Anne, Julie, Marisa, Dawn, Carol, Dave, James and Carolyn. Thank you very much. Okay, moving on. Thank you for that. Item 5, declaration of members' interests. Any declarations of interest anybody would like to tell us about? Alan and Anne.
Guess what?
Kelsey, please.
Yes.
Carolyn, I think, needs to declare as well at this stage.
Yes, Carolyn needs to have to declare your interest at the Whitworth Centre.
Whitworth trustee. Yes. Okay. Yeah.
Thank you. Public participation. So, Ian, would you like to raise the points that were made in the public participation? Is that all right?
Yikes, hang on, I haven't got the in front of me.
Sorry.
Yeah. No, that's okay.
Do you want me to find them?
Yep.
It's partly relative there to item 13, I think.
Yeah, well, I mean, they've bothered to write in, so it would be nice to sort of,
Okay, so we have had 2. We have had one who requested to remain anonymous and another who preferred to be called Norman. And they both relate to some of the social distancing and crime, drugs-related issues that David had been dealing with, or Councillor Oakley had been dealing with over near the Sandu Path. And they're both really pleased for the council to get a little bit more involved and support the residents in dealing with the issues. You've all had a chance to read them today. And David, whether you want to tell us where you are with some of that stuff, because you've been dealing with it almost on a daily basis, haven't you?
Yeah, so under item 13, I can answer most of them anyway, because I've been dealing with both persons that sent the stuff in.
yeah, lovely. If that's all right, could we wait till item 13? But thank you for those.
Yeah, they're both frustration letters at the fact that they've still got issues over there.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Well, we'll cover those when we get to them, but thank you.
Yeah, don't worry about
Okay, so my announcements. So we've been doing our Dale Champions Have a Treat nominations. We've got 3 lovely nominations. We've had a mum email in to nominate her daughter called Beth, who is 21. She is a radiographer who graduated last year from Sheffield Hallam. She's living at home. She's 21, 22 tomorrow. And she's been going in and doing long shifts, including night shifts, x-raying people with lung difficulties from COVID-19. She's had to scan her colleagues who have been unwell, and this lassie's 21, and I just think that's amazing. I think at 21, if you can show that dedication to your career, I think that's brilliant, personally. So that's our first. Our second nomination is a lady called Andrea who runs Tinderbox. So I don't know if any of you know, but she had, at the start of the lockdown, she'd been running adult singing classes every evening, I think it was. And she did them for free, and quite a lot of people joined in, and I think it really lifted the spirits of quite a lot of people. She's also, with her youth theatre groups, she's now started to do a free online Zoom session for them so that they can keep up with their pals and keep going. And so she's doing that all free of charge. I know that she runs a business through Tinderbox, but she's been putting the effort in free of charge just to make those young people's lives a bit easier. I think that's a really nice thing too. And then we have a lovely nomination, and Carolyn nominated Georgie Tarbert. Do you want to talk about it, Carolyn?
It's a young lady or young girl who's off school, and she's been baking every week, and baking cakes and biscuits, and she's been delivering them by bike to residents up on Sydenham Hill. A lot of the residents are isolated, and they're either shielding or, they're self. What's the word for it?
Isolating.
Yeah, and she's going around delivering cakes and biscuits for them to cheer them up, and I think that's a really nice thing to do. She's doing it just off her own back, and I thought that was a really nice community thing to do. And she's going around on a bike every week delivering these things, and I thought she was worth nominating.
I think that's really lovely, and that's absolutely the sort of thing that I think that we want to see in these nominations as well. I think that's really lovely. Yeah. So what I'd like to propose is that we give everybody a £10 voucher.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to write to the people that have nominated these people and ask for their details so that I can get in contact with them, write a letter and ask if we can do a bit of publicity for them in the Community Voice and on our Facebook pages as well. We'd be really proud of people like that. I'm hoping that will help encourage a few more people to nominate. Being as the Sticky Fig is currently open, I had wondered about getting our first vouchers from the Sticky Fig. What do we think?
Okay.
And then they can enjoy them straight away.
Yeah.
Sounds good idea. We all happy with that?
Yeah.
Carol?
Yeah.
Just ask some questions about whether they're happy about being on social media, having their photograph taken, because at least one of these is under 18, aren't they?
Yeah, no, that's why I'd wanted to contact them directly so that I could ask all of those things before we went and put their picture up.
And if they do want their photograph to be in, then you need to get some, you know this, Mary, you need to get some permission from the parents.
Yeah.
Well, I might have had to ask you for that.
Yes, I can get contact details from the parents.
Thank you. But I think that all 3 of those people that we should be celebrating, so that's lovely to hear.
Very good, well done.
So, yeah, I think if are we all happy that they all should get a voucher?
Yeah.
All right. Magic. That's all I've got to say. So, should we move on to number 8, which is a report from the police and the county and district councillors. They're not here. Finance, Steve. Bless you, Steve, you're muted.
We had an F&GP meeting last night. The payments, I think everybody's had a copy of the payments now made. The only payment which hasn't appeared, I don't think, on that list is there was an additional £10,000 payment to the Whitworth Centre. So where your list is showing one payment of £10,000, there is actually two. That's correct, isn't it, Mary?
Yes.
Yeah. There was one last Friday and then another one which has been authorised today.
Okay, then yes.
Okay. As a result of the meeting last night, there was a fair bit discussed last night. We've got the end of year and the audit, which needs to be dealt with and chased up. I believe Sean should be back at work on Tuesday, so hopefully we can get caught up with that. We discussed the prize vouchers, which we've already done, so I don't need to go over that again, other than to say that we did discuss possibly extending that beyond the £100 we'd originally discussed, dependent on the number of nominees we receive. That would be a decision for full council to take. We also discussed, and again, this is something when Sean gets back, we discussed signatories, people who can authorise payments on the bank account. At the minute, there's only myself and Mary able to do this. I believe that Carol and Dawn have previously suggested they would be quite happy to be signatories on the account. This hasn't happened at this stage and it needs addressing, because if somebody's away on holiday or whatever, we need to be able to sign off payments. So Dawn and Carol, is that the case that you are both still happy to be signatories on the bank?
Yes, if anybody else wants to do it, I'm quite happy not to. Let's put it that way. If you want to offer it out to everybody.
Does anybody else want to become a signatory for the bank account?
No.
Dawn and Carol. Okay, well, I don't know how difficult the process will be. We'll communicate with Sean and Ian, and we'll get that sorted. While we're on about the bank, we also need to make sure Ian has login details and can set up payments to be authorised at the same time. We discussed an audit for the Whitworth. Okay. I'm going to go away and get some prices for the cost of an audit for the Whitworth, and I'm going to work with Alan to decide on what the best audit is to look for. So we'll bring that back to a future meeting. We also discussed the precept, which we had planned on doing a public consultation on the precept for next year. And I had some comparisons from other towns and populations in the precept which they receive, and we're actually quite low when you compare us with the likes of Ashbourne and the likes of Wirksworth. We take a very low precept, and the point that I made was I feel that we can do a lot more for the townsfolk of Darley-Dale if we increase the precept. Mary raised some concerns based on the current financial situation. So again, it's something which we need to consider as a town council as to what we do with the precept going forward. Other than that, we agreed that the payments to the Whitworth would be made, one for April, one for May, which has now been made, one for June and one for July, based on the receipt of any receipts and also the monthly monitoring sheet. And that's it.
Julie.
Hold on. Sorry, Carol had a hand up then.
I'm sorry.
Just to say, Steve, that the Wirksworth Town Council raised their precept quite considerably by going out with specific things that they asked the people who live in Wirksworth whether they were happy with. So it was very much not going out and saying, what do you want? Because people come back with 100 things, but having a list of half a dozen things. And the town has agreed that their precept gets raised quite considerably. So I think I'm in agreement with thinking about that, yeah.
One of the things which we discussed was, and I gave an example, but the A6 is a busy road with an ageing population. We've got a number of care homes, we've got the hospital, we've got St Elfin's with an ageing population. And we did discuss things like, as a priority, trying to get the speed limit reduced and look at getting a couple of crossings so that people can go both ways along the A6 without running the gauntlet of trying to cross that road. We've got a nursery along the road, which again has children. We've got Darley-Dale Primary School. We've got Terrible Junction across at Station Road. there's so much we need to try and concentrate. And I think my opinion is the only way we can do that is by upping the precept. But again, it's got to be upped in correlation with A, what people can afford, and B, what we can provide to our residents as a council.
Speed thing is a great idea. As you know, I'm very in favour of that.
Yeah, absolutely agree.
Julie?
Yeah, can I just come back to the audit? I noted that you said, Steve, that you were going to discuss with Alan what was the best kind of audit to be carried out. I think given what's happened to the council in recent months and the divisions that have occurred, I think that an auditor should be appointed jointly by the town council and the Whitworth.
Sorry, I think you might have misunderstood what Steve was saying. Alan has just pointed out that you can get quite a lot of different types of audit. So you can look at,
but whatever we choose should be jointly appointed by the town council and the Whitworth.
I think it should be appointed by the council, because if we're paying for it, I think that we would want to appoint the auditor.
So we should then decide, not Alan, what it will be audited on if we're paying for it.
Go on, Steve.
Just to clarify, Alan said he would work with us on it to look at the types of audit that were available and the costs that were, and then we would bring it back to full council to decide. I'm not certain, Julie, if that's a bad idea to have a joint audit where possibly the Whitworth pays some and we pay some, and perhaps we channel everything and we work together. Again, that's something we would need to decide with the Whitworth Centre, but I think that's possibly one to discuss.
Right. Okay. Any more on finance?
No, that was everything.
Thank you. Okay. So, Councillor Daly, would you like to fill us in on the planning applications we've had this month?
Yeah. Got a couple of updates. Darley Hillside Methodist Church. I don't know if any of you saw what's happened there, but their appeal has been declined. So they cannot get planning permission. So who knows what will happen to that now? Obviously it was sold privately. So that is the end of the matter as far as planning is concerned. So whether it will come back on the market or be offered for different uses is yet to be, be decided. And the appeal was dismissed under HC 15, which basically meant that it wasn't offered out to the public for a reasonable amount of time before it was sold. Churchtown Primary, they've got their planning permission granted with conditions for their fencing and gates. And Dunelm on Bent Lane have been granted planning permission for their single-storey side extension. 2 new applications this month. First one, 28 Greenaway Lane. It was formerly owned by Johnson's Plumbers. It still is owned by Johnson's, but it isn't being used for the plumbing business anymore. And they now want to turn it into a dwelling house. It was formerly a workshop and a meeting place for their staff. We've had a look at this at the working group, and we actually thought it was a good use of a brownfield site. Having looked at the drawings, there's going to be very little difference to the exterior of the building, just the addition of 3 roof lights. The windows and doors will be replaced, but they won't be new openings. They'll just be exactly where they are at the moment. So as far as the working party were concerned, we had no objections.
Would you like to make a proposal?
You want to vote on that one now? Yeah. So all those in favour
Of what?
of approving the planning?
Of no objection.
No objection.
Yeah, so yes, no objection.
No objection.
So that's me, Steve, Alan, Anne, James, Julie, Marisa, Dawn, Carol, Dave, and Carolyn.
Wow.
Okay. Next one's Pickled Pear Cafe. They're wanting, they've actually got 2 applications in. One's for decking, one lot to the front, one lot to the rear of the building, and then another application for a light, a sign with a light above it at the rear of the building. We discussed this at some length, and we decided that we weren't in favour of this. Several reasons. There's material planning considerations in that extra covers are likely to generate extra traffic. Also, we've felt that the decking, wasn't conducive to the appearance of the building either. And because one lot of the decking is going to be at the side of the A6, it was thought that it may be distracting to drivers.
I don't know why you'd want to sit there and have a cup of coffee anyway, to be honest.
Next to a bus stop with diesel fumes.
Can I just throw another one in there, Julie?
You can.
I can see another scenario coming up where when they've got the decking through and they've got the light through, if they do, they'll start looking for screening against the A6, because they'll say, but it's interfering with our people, so we want some screening up next.
Mm-hmm.
That will be the next thing they'll go for. I think they're doing it in little stages.
Yeah.
They'll go for the health and safety with the screening.
Yeah.
Would it cause a traffic obstruction, like a visual obstruction?
Yeah, there's enough obstruction on that corner as it is.
I'm not sure it would cause an obstruction, but we felt it might cause a distraction for people driving along. If they saw somebody that they knew, or were just generally nosying, because they're very close to the road. So we weren't in favour of this, and we recommend that that this is declined. We object to it.
Okay, Steve.
The other issue is, as Dave's just pointed out, they may look for screening, but they may then start looking for covers to go over the top of it as well, and you can see an extension. You can see an extension coming straight away.
Parasols.
Is there anywhere to extend to?
Pardon?
Is there anywhere to extend to?
Oh, they could extend. They could bring the building out to the side. Not a problem. They'd lose their garden, but they're going to lose that with the decking anyway. But we definitely felt it was going to be a distraction. People going past and seeing the mates having a cuppa and beefing their horns, and I just think it's in bad taste.
Yeah,
inappropriate for the area it's in.
Yeah. And I've also been approached by a local resident who said that even now, as things stand at the moment, she struggles to park outside her house.
Yeah, it has got busy. Okay, did you want to make a proposal?
Yeah, so I propose that we object to both of those applications. So that's
You only did one application.
And the sign.
Yeah, well,
we did do both of them.
What's wrong with the sign?
We'll talk about the sign. Don't mention it. Yeah.
Right, okay. Sorry, yes. Sorry, Dawn.
Talk about the sign, Julie.
Yeah, so the second one is the sign. That is to go on the rear wall nearest to the post office with a light above it. We thought that the light would be obtrusive. We didn't see any reason for the light because it's actually next to a lamp post. And so again, we recommend that we object to that.
Okay.
Can I just ask a question? Do we know when the application originally started its way through the system for the decking? I didn't notice that, and I should have done.
Fairly recent.
Is it because they're thinking about social distancing for the...
Possibly, could be.
Because I do think we need to have some consideration of that. I'm not necessarily disagreeing with you about the planning situation, but I am also a bit aware that, it's a new business and they may be thinking of ways to go forward.
Right, okay. I think It's been submitted fairly recently, but I think they've been thinking about it for a long time, because somebody's also come up with the idea of putting 6 bicycle racks down the side of the building to counteract any argument of the new development causing extra traffic problems. So I think they're anticipating that we're going to object.
Steve?
I would say, and just in answer to your question, looking at the application itself, I agree with what Julie's just said about the bike rack, but the social distancing is going to be there for a specific period of time, whether it be 2 months, 3 months. Once they get the permission through, that's there for good, and I don't believe it's conducive to the area.
No, I'm not disagreeing with the, the findings about plan, but I just wondered, really. That's all. Sorry.
It was a good point, Anne.
Relevant question.
Yeah. Okay, so can I propose that we object to the decking?
I second that.
Oh, all right.
Okay.
Overridden by the shit.
Yeah.
Sorry, have we got the
So who have we got? We've got Steve, James, Julie, Carol, Carolyn, Dave, and Marisa. I'm going to abstain. I don't know really.
Okay.
I'm abstaining because I wasn't opposed nor for or against, so
Okay.
I'm not vehemently against it.
And can I propose that we object to the sign with the light above it?
I'll second that.
Yeah, I agree.
1, 2, so we've got Steve, James, Julie, Dawn, Anne, Carol, Carolyn, Dave, Marisa. Thank you very much. Lovely.
And that's it. Oh, incidentally, you all got a late planning application come through this afternoon. I've spoken to the relevant planning officer and I've managed to get that deferred until our next meeting.
Yeah, saw that.
Oh, thank you, Julie.
Oh, brilliant.
Julie, could I just, not now, but when you run through the applications that have been approved and with what have you, brilliant. Is there any way that we could know if we've voted against them in the future? Just be nice to know if we've said no, they've gone yeah.
Right, okay. Yeah, I'll see if I can do that.
It would just be interesting to see if actually we make any point.
I know Darley Hillside Methodist Church, we actually voted in favour of that because we thought it was a good use of the building.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that one. It looked quite nice.
Yes.
Yeah.
It looked lovely. I can remember it myself.
Yeah.
Then we voted against HMO and it went through.
We didn't put anything in against Churchtown Primary because their own application stated that they were within a conservation area, but actually when I spoke to the planning officer, they're not. So I left that. I spoke to the planning officer and left it to her.
Can I ask a question, Chair? We never mentioned earlier, but are we breaking for anything at 8 o'clock tonight?
Yeah, I forgot as I whizzed past the consideration of orders of business. I realised I'd forgotten to do that, but we'll get to that at about 5 to 8.
So we are then, yeah. Okay.
If that's all right. Yeah, we'll vote on that at that time. I'll know because my hordes of unruly children will come down screaming. Okay. Right. Well, thank you, Julie.
Dave waving at you.
Sorry, Dave.
Have we had any updates on the HMO thing? Because the sign's gone down. And I got asked this morning about it.
Yes. Sorry, can I answer that? Yeah. I rang, I had a resident that rang me again. I've spoken to Gareth Griffiths about it. He said he's not aware of anything that's going on there. So if the property has been let, it will be under the D1 usage that it has granted at the moment. He has been in negotiations with Ben Bryant to change the class of use, but there's been no application put in. So if it is being let, it will be for one of the uses that come under D1. So obviously I think it's a place of worship, doctor's surgery, nursery. Obviously they got the HMO included. So it would be that kind of business.
Thank you.
But basically planning don't know. They don't know what's happening.
Thank you. Okay, are we all right to move on to item 11?
Yes.
The Whitworth Centre, Alan.
Thanks, Mary. You should all have a report which covers a summary, the April accounts and the minutes of the last meeting that's been approved and signed off by the board. I want to sort of formally register in the council minutes the thanks. I think we'll end up with close to 400 people who will have contributed to crowdfunding, which is way more than I thought would be the number. And we'll obviously, as soon as we can, find ways to personally thank everybody on there, hopefully through some kind of event at Whitworth in the future. We've now, our total fundraising across crowdfunding, donations and grants has reached £62,000. Crowdfunding is about 17, donations about 17.5, and grants, excluding that from the council, is 27,500. I think we're pretty much at what we're going to get now across those three. I've exhausted grants. Of course, there might be some new grants come along as we move into sort of restart mode. You never know, the government might put some additional money into helping small charities and businesses start up again. But as far as I can see, we've probably got as far as we're going to get. Because like so many businesses, we got a blanket no from our insurance company, Hiscox, to our business interruption insurance. We decided to spend a bit of money with Nelson's for them to write a legalistic note to Hiscox, which if they reject again, will take their response off to the Ombudsman, which we're in a fortunate position because our turnover being less than £1 million, we can access funding. We can go to the Ombudsman for a decision. If that fails as well, we have another chance, which is to join the many class actions, which is where different businesses group together to have a legal go at Hiscox. So we've not given up, but we're not assuming any success on that at the moment. In terms of social distancing with the park, we've had a nice note from the police saying how well we've done, and that they didn't have any further ideas as to what we could do to improve our approach. I think it may well have gone in today actually. I am, however, because I think the park is just showing signs of getting a bit busier now. We're just going to put a few more signs up reminding people about what social distancing means. So inevitably we're going to get more people in the park as lockdown starts to relax, and we need to make sure this. I think everybody should know the social distancing there, but we have a responsibility to put more signage up, I think. We'll keep an eye on obviously what we're allowed to do. So for example, croquet, bowling clubs can now resume should show so wish, and should they do that with one other person from outside their household. We've written to them all the clubs and charities actually, asking them to provide us with a set of rules under which they will operate if they choose to start using the park again, so that we are able to say in good conscience we've talked to any club and charity and checked that they are following the rules that they're supposed to be doing. We've managed to keep, I think, the park in better condition than pretty much all other public spaces I've seen, despite the fact that the district council haven't been doing their usual support to the centre. I think financially, I guess the conclusion where I'm at now and what I said to the finance committee last night was, I think we are confident that we will survive the crisis, so i.e. through the summer into autumn up to Christmas. Our risk now is the one that nobody knows about, which is just how fast, if at all, we'll be able to recover income. So for that reason, we're working on two scenarios: what we believe is the most likely guesswork, and a cash flow forecast around that, and with a whole set of assumptions in it, and then a worst case scenario as well, which is if things become dire, what will our cash flow look like? And obviously in that situation, like thousands of other businesses across the UK, we won't be in a good place by the end of the financial year. and we're looking at various other approaches to try and close that gap. So based on our forecast, we'll be okay. Based on our worst case scenario, we still have more to do. We're now, of course, starting to think with a very cautious hat on about startup plan, and I presented and agreed a flexible startup plan which starts to bring in some services within the centre from July earliest, but we're not expecting any significant reopening of the building until September. Obviously, it's a moving feast, but that's our current working assumption. To enable that to happen, what we're doing is obviously working on risk assessments for things like the office, the park, and other areas, and indeed the cafe, of course, and that risk assessment is being done with staff, and we'll obviously have to consult with them before we do anything. Really grateful, I think, particularly to Andy and Simon Gill, who have been enormously supportive to me in getting a whole stack of work done over the last few weeks. When that's given me sufficient confidence now to look to the future. So we've begun a tender process to appoint our main partner for the £100,000 lottery project. Seems a long time ago now when we won that one. So we'll get by the beginning of June responses from hopefully 4 organisations. We've given our brief to 4 organisations who will pitch for the role as main partner. Once we've got the main partner, then we can start work on the master planning. And of course, the master planning now is even more important given what's happened with COVID. Not something we planned at the start of the process, but actually it's incredibly useful to have that opportunity to bring on some external expertise to help us plan for the longer term. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Alan, and well done for all your hard work. It's made a huge difference, and it's lovely to see how many people in the community are supportive as well with the crowdfunding. It's quite astonishing, so well done. Thank you. Has anybody else got anything they'd like to say about the centre? Julie?
Yeah, the partner that you're appointing, I'm very conscious that now the town council has lost control of the board of the Whitworth. So basically, it's down to the 5 they will have the deciding vote, the 5 members of the board who aren't councillors. I just wondered how anybody else felt about that.
Well, I think Alan has been after other councillors. Actually, what we didn't talk about, Alan, this month, I don't know if you want to raise it now, was whether or not any councillors are willing to become trustees or are interested in becoming trustees.
I think there's clearly a need to look across all the council groups at the moment to get the right people in the right place. So that applies, I think, to finance committees, the communication group, and to the Whitworth. So I don't know whether we can discuss it properly on this call, but given it's not on the agenda, but we clearly need to get the right people onto each group as quickly as we can.
Could we perhaps say that if you're interested in becoming a trustee, contacts you this month, and then we'll pop it on the agenda for next month? Is that fair?
Thank you. Yeah.
Julie?
Do we not think it's prudent, though, to sort of postpone any major decisions until we do have a full cohort of councillors back on the trust?
You can't do that, I'm afraid. It's for the trust board to make that decision making.
Dawn?
The last time we were short on councillors, Alan, didn't you just 2 of the lay members didn't vote, so the council had the overall vote?
That wouldn't have been in my time.
Oh, sorry.
Anne?
We have to follow the Articles of Association for the trust board, and the trust board is very clear on that. It needs 2 or 3 people for a quorum. It doesn't say whether they are councillors or non-councillors.
I have to say, as a trustee, I recognise what you're saying there, Julie, and Alan, bless him, knows that when I first became a trustee, I was very aware of a conflict of interest and was very clear about what I was there for as a councillor, but also there to support the Whitworth. And I would say currently I'm not aware of any decisions we've had to make where there has been a conflict of interest between the 2. I think they're very much hand in hand at the moment.
I'm not concerned about sort of the conflict of interest. It's the fact that the council don't have control of the board.
No, that is true.
I was,
Yeah, sorry.
Go on.
when I was on the board, it was always the intention that as sole trustee, we had the majority vote on the board.
Yeah.
Not in the, I mean, it's not in the Articles of Association. So the council can appoint straight away in the next 2 days if they want to, or next meeting, come back to full. And the way to crack it is to come back to full trust membership. So to get 7 councillors back on, you can't just mess up the delegated authority, because actually you're not legally entitled to do that without change of the legal articles.
So we've got no control over the board then?
You have, because we could quickly put on another 5. How many do we need? Remind me. We've got 3 at the moment, so we need another 4. That's how to get. So it's the council has to quickly make a decision, as it does for all its committees at the moment, not just the Whitworth.
We should be doing that because this is a May meeting.
So I spoke to Ian about this before. They've cancelled all the town meetings, all the May meetings, but we will pop committees onto the next agenda. Okay, James.
So has anybody on of the council at the moment expressed an interest of becoming or maybe rejoining as a trustee?
Julie did.
I did.
Anybody else?
Well, should we leave it that if any interested parties want to contact Alan?
A follow-up question on that. Obviously, you've done a worst case and a best case scenario. The worst case scenario, I'm assuming, does that mean that the Whitworth will continue to lose money for a period of time until all the money's gone?
The assumptions are built upon levels of business that we will get in the cafe, levels of business we'll be able to do on conferencing, events, and so on. So it's just a straight. So the worst case scenario, I think, assumes something like 20% of our normal revenue would happen so we get no revenue in the cafe before September. And then from in September, don't quote me on this, but it'd be roughly right, around 20% of our income in September, and then it rises each month. So we'd be doing very little cafe income through to Christmas. We'd be doing next to no events and so on. So on that basis, unless we take further action, which clearly as a board we will plan as we need to, we would run out of cash by the end of the financial year. Hence, it's a worst case scenario.
Right. So because obviously with social distancing, a lot of the events in the Whitworth are club events and such like, where social distancing might not quite work. Sadly, there is a chance that eventually it could run out of cash.
Well, that affects, of course, every small business, pub. So if no businesses are able, shops, pubs, restaurants, you name it, are able to generate income, there'll be hundreds of thousands of businesses across the UK going bust. So our ability is driven by government policy. There are a couple of things we can do, and I've always, which we'll take action on if we have to near the time.
Thank you.
But we won't be alone on that. Which is why it'll be interesting to see what the government does. So if we get a second lot of COVID, that means actually things get worse, then we will be a little bit in the hands of others.
Sorry, that just
had a hand up for ages.
What are those other measures? What can you do?
Well, one is, and I asked the council to keep a reserve, keep some money in its reserves in case we need it later in the year. So one thing I'll do is come back to town council, ask for contribution from the reserves. The second is to do what's called a bounce back loan. So to take out a government secured loan of up to £50,000, which is interest free for the first 12 months, interest paid by the government. And the third is, of course, as we are doing, continuing to press on our insurance policy to try and get some money out of insurance company.
Thank you. Carol.
Just 3 sources of funding, Alan, that I'm following up that you probably know about, but just in case. Have you seen the EDRF business grant?
EDRF? No, I haven't. So if you've got anything on that, I'd be grateful.
European funding, and it's run through the Peak Business Forum. I'll send you the details. The second is government have announced some new money for small businesses from the 1st of June.
We've already had money from that. For small business, we won't get a second lot.
No, you won't. And the third is that all our district councillors have been given extra money to give to good causes in their area. So
I'll write to all the Mark Salts and so of this world and Jason.
Yeah.
I think they have £1,000, don't they?
Well, that's what I'm going for something. Yeah,
Yeah.
£1,000. Yeah,
They've had extra because of the COVID.
Yeah,
that's right.
Okay, thank you. Steve, you got your hand up?
Yeah, couple of things. Jason did say when I spoke to Jason about his extra money from COVID, and I think I messaged this on at the time, he would be happy to allocate an extra £1,000 to the Whitworth Centre out of his money. So that's good news.
Brilliant.
That's positive. So that needs to be looked at as soon as we possibly can.
Agreed.
Sorry, Alan, can I just come back to the £62,000 raised, which I think is a fantastic amount. The crowdfunding currently sits at around about 17,000, roughly, just under. We've got, about a week left of that crowdfunding to go. My understanding was that crowdfunding didn't actually go into your account until the target had been achieved. Am I wrong with that? Because earlier on you said that crowdfunding was already in the account.
Earlier on tonight, or earlier on when?
Tonight. You said that you'd had... If
I did, I apologise. I didn't. That would have been a slip of the tongue, because if I don't remember saying that, but you may be right. Not what I meant.
Okay.
So we're expecting to, I think we received £17,500 of crowdfunding. That's correct. It won't go into the bank until the end of May.
Okay, so within that 62,000, that crowdfunding is included, but that isn't yet in the bank.
Correct.
Okay, so up to this point, then that would make around about £45,000. What within any grants you've received, any donations from the likes of Simon Haslam and whoever else has donated. I think you said 17,000 roughly in donations outside of the crowdfunding, didn't you?
Yeah. 17,500, yeah.
So 17,500 outside of the crowdfunding. Sorry, what was that? Sorry, I thought somebody had said something there. What other grants have you received to get that number up to 62,000?
Sports England, Heritage Lottery, Darley-Dale District Council, Small Business Loan, which is what Carol was referring to.
Derbyshire Dales District Council.
Derbyshire Dales, yeah, which is actually central government funding.
Yeah, okay. If we can get that, because again, the crowdfunding, my understanding of crowdfunding is it doesn't pay out unless we reach the target.
No, we get it. We'll get whatever we receive.
Is that absolutely spot on?
Yes.
Okay, brilliant. Okay, that was the only question I had on that.
Thank you. I've got a dead quick Whitworth question, and then we're going to break to clap. Okay. Do you know what a stone snake is?
A what?
No, of course you don't. You don't have small children. So children's paint stones, and then everybody leaves them, and they make a big long snake. I've been asked today if we can start one in the park. It's basically just going to be snake popping stones along. Is that all right?
I'm sure it will be. Yes.
Okay.
We've actually, we've got, on a similar theme, we've got a guy who originally did a lot of work on the skateboard park has asked if he can paint onto the skateboard board, sort of for thank you NHS stuff, and he'll come up with design that will go to Anne and other park committee representatives.
Lush, thank you. Okay, right. Well, I'll spread the word about the stone snake. Then you can all get painting new stones, can't you?
Okay, are we breaking?
Kids think that I sound mental. Right. Okay, we'll come back at about 10 past then. Okay.
Right.
Okay. Thanks. Sorry, how embarrassing.
Well done me for remembering to start recording again. Okay, so we are up to number 12, item 12. So this is community engagement. I wondered if anybody else had any other suggestions about how we can be supporting the community. Okay, I've got another idea if nobody else has got one. Okay, so there are quite a lot of businesses that are working in like new ways. So like the butchers are doing a delivery and they're doing like quite a lot of social distancing. They're also sending a lot more stuff at their shop. Sticky Fig are doing a delivery service, as are like the garden centre. I did wonder if we should do like a once a week little promotion for each business in Darley-Dale, just so that people know. But what they're doing. I don't know how we feel about that. It is promoting the business, which is iffy with the council, to be honest. But I don't know. Wonder what your thoughts were.
I did ask if Sticky Fig could be put on anyway.
I do put things like that on Facebook anyway, even though I do put local businesses, even like the Tinderbox stuff.
Yeah.
So I do promote it more if you're happy for it.
Yeah.
I put the pictures on, I put Sticky Fig on, I put Tinderbox, I put anything that's local in our area.
Yeah, it's been very useful to have it on Facebook.
Right, I'm just going to mute everybody because there's quite a bit of background noise, and then I'll speak again. Right, go on, James.
Yeah, I just wanted to check the what you've said there, really, how we stand legally, really, I suppose, in respect to a council promoting local businesses.
Yeah, well, that's the bit that wouldn't be. That's the bit that I feel quite like anxious about, because I know that we shouldn't be promoting businesses, but then I'm not sure if it would be different if we are promoting what support they're giving in a different way for their business. So like I say, for the butchers, they're definitely going and doing delivery service, which is obviously going to be really helpful to some people. And so I don't know if we sort of like welcomed businesses to say, oh, do you want us to post about what you're doing? But like you say, Dawn shares quite a lot of those things anyway, which is the right thing to be doing. I just wondered if you wanted to have more of like a weekly focus sort of do.
Sorry, to my question is, should we be doing it as council or shouldn't we be doing it as a council?
I don't think that we should be selecting one business to triumph over the others, but whether or not we are. Can I ask Anne that? Have you got an answer? Go on.
Right, we cannot pick individual businesses and promote them. What we can do is we can celebrate the locality, and we can say we have these businesses in the area, this is what they are doing, and we can invite other businesses who are competitors, but they have an equal platform. But it has to be equal and fair.
Right, so we have to put it out to all businesses first.
Well, what you can do is you can have it in, say you had it in Community Voice or whatever, and you could say this is an example of what a particular business is doing and responding to how they support the local community. We would love to hear from other businesses about what you are doing. And if we're giving people a platform and a choice and comparison, that's okay. We're just not allowed to promote them.
Okay.
Or we're not allowed to make them, non-competitive, if you see what I mean. Promote one above another.
Okay. Thank you. Right, now I've got Dawn with a hand up. Yep. Oh, hang on. Oh, Dawn, I can't hear you. Hang on.
Hello.
Hello, go on.
I've only posted since the lockdown businesses that are offering a service that, like Stick Pig and the Butchers, Pickled Pear. No, not Pickled Pear. I've also promoted Matlock ones, and the Tinderbox, I've only promoted the free sessions of Zoom or the free taster sessions. So is that in the guidelines, or should I just stop all of it? I'll talk to Anne afterwards.
Yeah, I'd like to get a steer from Anne because she sounds like she's doing. Thanks. Okay, Steve. Oh, hang on. Oh, sorry. Sorry. Oh, sugar. Steve.
I would assume that providing we run an information service and we let our residents know what is open, what's offering takeaways, I would assume that is perfectly fine. I agree with Anne that we can't prioritise one business over another. But I think we should be trying to make sure all of our Darleydale residents know what's open and available to them within the Darleydale area.
Agree. Marisa.
I was just going to kind of sort of say what Anne was saying, in the way that it's not that we're promoting the businesses per se, we're kind of just saying how they've changed their ways and how they're here to support the community. And hopefully we're putting it out there to sort of say, you know, to our residents, you know, you don't have to travel down to Sainsbury's. There's our people around here still open and supporting you.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's good. Alan, hang on. Why won't it unmute you, Alan? Can you unmute yourself?
Come up with a sign saying unmute, so I presume you can hear me now. That worked?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's two things. I think all we can really do is to say these businesses are opening, doing this, and it has to be really factual, nothing more than that. I think for two reasons. One, we cannot be seen to be promoting any for-profit business, is my understanding. And secondly, we just got to be a bit careful, because if there's any kind of recommendation given to those businesses when we're not absolutely sure that the services they are delivering are completely compliant with social distancing and everything else at the moment, we'll get ourselves into a bit of a pickle. So I would just say it must be absolutely fine just to say these services are open and they do this, but no more than that.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Ian, can you unmute yourself? I don't know why I can't unmute you. There you go.
I'm a co-host. I was going to say that I don't know whether you're aware, but for about 6 weeks now, we've actually on the website.
Oh, it's not very good, Ian.
Sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, that's better.
For about 6 weeks on the website.
Oh dear.
Go on again.
Gone.
Oh dear. That's some face. Look at that. Jesus. Had too many Stellas, I think.
And I actually think we're doing this. I think Dawn's right.
Now, Ian, you've just cut out through all of that. Start again.
Have I?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, now I'm really nervous now in case you can't hear me. Okay, so
Perfect.
what I was going to say, I don't know what you call this, so I'll start again. For about 6 weeks, we've had an article on the website asking local businesses to get in touch so that we build a list for local residents, and actually nobody's been in touch at all. And what I was going to say is now that started to happen anyway. I think Dawn, you'll have seen some of that stuff on Facebook where other people are pulling this together. And I think we've actually been very good at putting that stuff out under the sort of council banner anyway. So I think really we're doing this, if I'm honest, and we're not necessarily promoting businesses, but we are getting the information out there to local residents. I think actually through Facebook rather than anything else, we've done it quite well.
Brilliant. Thank you. James?
If there was a list of local businesses, all of the local businesses in the area, and we had access to their email addresses, we could have given them the opportunity, all of them at once, to say, right, we're going to create a list, put it in the community voice, publicise it as much as we can, of businesses that are open. And they can maybe do what they do and if they're open or not, really. And then you've done it to everybody.
That's a good idea. I think, I was just going to say that, for example, somebody mentioned the garden centre, and the garden centre has completely changed the way of operation with the lessening of the lockdown restrictions. So that's information that needs to go out to people as well.
Well, we have a deadline for the community voice for Friday. Could I have a volunteer to write that article, please? Okay. Carol and I.
If you like, I'll do it if you like.
Thank you, Alan. That's kind. Well, maybe you, me, and Carol can have a little chat and split the work up between the three of us.
I'll just extend it slightly, because I think there are, I know we're talking businesses here, but there are slowly clubs and charities starting to open up. And I think we're on safer ground when it comes to promoting, reaching out to clubs and charities and asking what they're doing, what have they been doing, and promoting what Age UK are doing in the area to promote elderly, you know, sort of tapping into other charities and clubs in the area and promoting their services. Nobody can criticise us for that.
Lovely. Good idea. Dawn?
Regarding the promoting of the charities and stuff, I'm already talking to Stephen Monk, Reverend Monk, because he does a lot of little group sessions, and so we're already sort of working together,
Right.
sort of on that. I've told him to talk to the council if they need any help and stuff. So I'll send you his email, and then you can just whack some. He's supposed to put something in the community's voice about it as well. So
We've got, I mean, obviously we've got contact details of the clubs and charities around. We're writing to them anyway, just updating them what's going on in the Whitworth Centre and when they might be able to use our services again. So we'll drop them another note on behalf of the council, if that's okay, just to saying the council's thinking, interested in letting the community know what you're doing and what your plans are. Would you like to tell us, and see what response we get, if that's okay?
Lovely. Thank you. Right, we'll get working on that. Does anybody else got anything they'd like to say about community engagement? Brilliant. Thank you. If you want to nominate anybody who you think's doing a really good job, feel free.
Do you want us to, is it okay to promote this on the Whitworth site as well, the Darley-Dale Champions?
Yes, and I think Andy has.
He's always ahead of me, is he? All right. Oh, well done, Andy.
If you could just nudge him to do it again. That would
Okay, will do.
Thank you. It's also worth noting that Dawn told me this week that her posts are reaching 14,000 people.
Wow.
Bloody hell.
on the Facebook page.
On the Facebook page. So
yeah, it's probably in Australia, but
well, 14,000 people is pretty huge. So I think that is a good congratulations.
It was the Instagram and Facebook page. It was them together.
Oh, very good, very good. Instagram. I don't understand Instagram.
Neither do I.
that's why Facebook page is promoted more.
Hey, so we'll move on to item 13, the rise in reports of crime. Dave. Oh, Dave, you're muted. Hang on, Sunshine. Shh. Can you unmute yourself, Dave? Oh.
Hello?
Yep, you're there.
You got me. Right, this brings in what correspondence come through as well. I'm assuming the two that have sent correspondence in are from Hawksley Drive or thereabouts. The bigger issue